All right. Welcome to your morning mental workout. On these note-taking materials. Interesting. Peach. Well, wait. There we go. Apologize for that. All right. You're going to need note-taking materials today. Physical or virtual, however you learn best. And we're going to go ahead and get started. Inhale and exhale. Get 3 deep cleansing breaths. And what you're doing is you're quieting the amygdala and you're saying, hey, emotional center, we are getting ready to get centered so we can learn about this amazing organ, the brain. Okay, so on your own, inhale and exhale 3 deep breaths. Good morning. I am Dr. Donna Louise Thomas-Rodgers, daughter of Leslie Darnell Thomas, granddaughter of Arthur Jethro Evelyn II, and great-granddaughter of Levi Thomas. Today's topic is we are going to be discussing the brain regions, the ones that are paired. So the paired brain regions. Good morning, Lola. Now, one thing that I would like to ask you all this morning is you see this amazing bottle, popping bottles this morning. Have you hydrated your brain this morning? And no, this is not product placement. I have no affiliation with this water brand. In fact, I've just used this bottle and I actually have just regular purified water in it. But I make sure that I got a big water bottle because I will go through those 16.9 ounce bottles of water like nothing. I can down one. So, for the people who are here this morning, did you participate in brain hydration? Did you drink your water for your brain this morning? Yay or nay, ya or da or nine, no, we or none. Did you drink your water this morning? Is this thing on? Can y'all hear me? Did you drink your water this morning? Did you give your brain what it needed? Did you hydrate your amazing, most important organ in your body? Did you drink your water this morning? Y'all like, uh-oh, Doc, why you coming with that this morning? Did you drink your water this morning? Did you drink your water this morning? This morning? Did you drink your water? Did you drink your water? Give it what it needs. You know how if you go to yoga class, you got to have your mat, your water, your slides, and your flip-flops so you can kick them off and get ready to go. All right. Seagull Sausage, are you here to learn about your brain this morning, or would you just like to randomly inform people about your stomach illness? If you're ill, then you should be resting. You need to be alert and mentally ready for this live. So if you are ill, under the weather, you're experiencing some health challenges this morning, this is not the live for you because you need to be up, alert, and taking notes. So if you are here for, and I am not a medical doctor, so if you are not here for that, you need to go seek medical attention. Perhaps go to urgent care, or in whatever country you're in, go seek medical attention. In fact, I'm talking about the brain. So yes, the gut health has a lot to do with the brain, but I'm literally instructing on how we're going to be talking about paired brain regions this morning. Okay, give me 1 second. 4th of July has Unaccountable People Board. They didn't know what else to do now that the firecrackers are gone. Okay. All right. So we're talking about paired brain regions this morning, and there are many. As I mentioned, when I was just looking up the weight of the amygdala, all of this other information surfaced, And so I decided to start with the amygdala because that is the emotional center in which clearly we had people this morning being driven by their hijacked amygdalas and seeking manufactured dopamine boosts because they are addicted to manufacturing dopamine and adrenaline. And so what we're going to find out is what brain regions are paired, meaning they use the left and the right hemisphere. And so they have left and right functions, and then they have shared functions, as we found out with the amygdala. So let's first talk about lateralization. And so lateralization refers to the specialization of the brain's left and right hemispheres for different functions. Generally, the left hemisphere is the dominant hemisphere for language related tasks like speaking and writing, while the right hemisphere excels in visual spatial processing and recognizing patterns. And so, this specialization is not absolute. Both hemispheres contribute to most cognitive functions, but they do have some specific things that they do with regards to the left and the right hemisphere. Hence, that's why we need to know about it. So, as you found out over the previous 2 days, your left amygdala and your right amygdala have different functions. And so, if you just find yourself impulsively slapping the shit out of somebody, you know you used your right amygdala and no inhibition control from the executive function to make that action occur. I am not suggesting that that is something that you do. I'm saying if you find yourself popping off, acting crazy, and it's just instinctive, it's the right amygdala. If you find yourself ruminating over negativity, something you heard, you read, or you listened to, you saw it, and you're like, oh my goodness, it's terrible. The world's going to hell in a handbasket. The world's going to hell in a handbasket. The world's going to hell in a handbasket. The world's going to hell in a handbasket with no viable solution. You know that the left amygdala is now taking over. Prefrontal cortex is weak. And so that's how you end up in the emotional existences day in and day out. So now you know about that. Now we can talk about the paired brain regions for the rest of the regions that are paired. I will go over the amygdala slightly this morning. But the purpose is for you to have this total understanding of your brain. So tomorrow, when we get back to the principles of world leadership, you now have more resources to know when I'm executing this principle of world leadership, here are the brain regions and here's the hemispheres that are involved within those brain regions to give you more of a deeper understanding of yourself and how your amazing brain works best for you. Now, the second thing is the corpus callosum, and that's Callosum. And I was saying colossum because of my Midwestern accent, but it is callosum. And so I checked with the language experts, and that is what was given to me this morning. So the corpus callosum, it acts as a bridge between the brain, between the left and right hemisphere, enabling communication after information transfer. And so this like this the same brain tissue, but it's kind of like a tissue that sits in the center and it divides the hemispheres. Interesting. If you look up a video of it, you can see it. It shouldn't freak you out, but it's just showing you. I saw one on TikTok a couple months back. It's pretty interesting. And so it allows nerve signals to pass between the two sides, carrying messages to help coordinate senses, movements, and cognitive functions. So think of it as a conduit for your brain. Things flow back and forth through the corpus callosum. All right, so there are 11 paired brain regions, and here are their functions. Now, what's interesting is I spent some extensive time this morning because there was good morning, Jared. There was information that I received from Grok. There was information that I received from ChatGPT, and so I had to combine that information because one was a detailed search, one was high level, and I didn't want to go, oh my goodness, let me just give y'all all this information and inundate you with too much information, and now you experience cognitive overload. The question on the table this morning, Jared, is did you drink your water? Did you drink your agua? Did you have your Wasserflasche full of Wasser? Sprechen Sie Deutsch? Okay. Yay or nay? So the first area, and there are 11, the first area is the frontal lobe. And we know that the cerebral cortex covers the frontal lobe. Great, sir. And hopefully you've mitigated the amount of caffeine, decreased it, even if it was by 1 cup. And if you're gonna have that third cup, make it half calf. So half caffeine, half decaf. And that'll help as well as you get down to a more manageable amount of caffeine on a daily basis. All right, so your frontal lobe. and it covers the prefrontal cortex is in the frontal lobe, but the frontal lobe is this portion, this beautiful portion right here. And y'all can tell my instructor for my neuroscience class is always saying what's beautiful, beautiful. So if you start hearing me saying these beautiful colors, it's because he's saying, great, Mr. Hook. He's saying what these dendrite trees and these axons and all of these other things, synaptic connections. Look at the beautifulness. This is just beautiful and it's poetic. It's interesting to see his love of the brain. So if you start hearing me say that, it is coming from my class. All right, so this beautiful region right here, this frontal lobe, it has a left and right function and a shared function. So the left function or of it in the left hemisphere is it often handles language production in the Broca area. And because this is up, wait, where's my Broca area? Right here. It handles language production, Broca area for speech, logic, reasoning, and analytical tasks. So if you hear people say, I'm left-brained, I'm analytical, I'm math, and blah, 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 that's where it's coming from. The right hemisphere or portion of the right frontal lobe is more involved in spatial reasoning, creativity, and emotional expression. So if you ever hear someone say, I'm right-brained, oh my goodness, I am so creative and I just math, no. But if you want me to write you a play, I can. That's where it's coming from. And I believe I said this on previous live. When I was in college, I took a test and I'm actually bilateral. And so I think because I had to teach myself how to read and now I can speak in imagery and all of that. But way back in the mid 90s, I found out that I was bilateral and have been that for the rest of my life since that time frame. Probably have before, but just took the test to find out for sure. So then the shared functions that they have is they share the executive function. So the planning, decision-making, problem solving, voluntary motor control via the motor cortex are all right there for it. So when you think about it, if you are reading and you are doing math and you're doing all these analytical things, you are using your left frontal lobe. And then if you start drawing and being picturesque and being creative, the right. But then say you're writing a children's book, when you put those together, now you've created this thing where you share it. So if you put PowerPoint presentations together, you're problem solving, and now it's this amazing problem solving that is very creative. You've used both of them together. The next one is the parietal lobes, and my shirt, I'm used to using the other one. So we're over here. This amazing lime green. And so the parietal lobe, it's the shared function is that it's language related, so sensory input, so touch, temperature, pain, processing numerical information, and your fine motor skills. So being able to type, being able to write, being able to tinker, put things together, assemble, all of those things are your fine motor skills. So again, for the parietal lobes, it's your language and your math and your reasoning. And then with the right lobe, it is spatial orientation, recognizing facial expressions and visual attention. So everything, if you think of it this way, when you're using the right side of your brain is what you see. So that's why if you see somebody do like this, you're ready to pop off. And then with your left brain, it's listening and learning. And so when you start looking at it from that perspective, if you're learning and you're processing words, I'm using my left. And if I'm processing what I see that has no verbalness to it, then most likely I'm using the right, or a combination of two. So if you look at what you see and then you describe it to somebody, now you've put those two together. Okay, next is the temporal lobe, our favorite spot for where the nervous system or the emotional center is there. And that's where the amygdala, hippocampus, thalamus, hypothalamus are all in that portion of your brain, that region of your brain. So in the temporal lobes, on the left temporal lobe, you have the language. So it's your comprehension, and it dominates your auditory processing for language. And what that's called is I'm going to do it in German and in English. So it's spelled WERNICKE''S. WERNICKE''S. And it is called the Wernicke area, or if you are saying it in English, it's the Wernicke. So if you are using German, it's the Wernicke is what it actually is, Wernicke. Or if you're pronouncing it in English, it's the Wernicke. Virnecker. So you see, Virnecker, Virnecker, damn it, Virnecker or Vinrecknecker. So either way, I fucked that up enough for y'all to get it. Okay, it'll be back. But the Virnecker area is a crucial region in the brain, primarily responsible for language comprehension, located in temporal lobe, left side, as I've mentioned, and its role is to understand spoken and written language. That is its responsibility. Now, in the right temporal lobe, it processes nonverbal sounds, so music and visual memory. And when you're thinking of music, think of music perception, and then it also does social cues and interpretation. So it's not necessarily the words to the music, but the actual music itself. Wernicke. There we go. I had it this morning. All right, now occipital lobe. That's number 4. So the left occipital lobe, and we're back here now in this beautiful orange region, and it processes visual input from your right visual field. So left side is right side, and then the right side processes visual input from your left visual field. So it is crossed, okay? So when you're thinking about the eyes, my right eye is taking stuff and giving it to the left. My left eye is taking stuff and giving it to the right. Now, their sharedness is that it's the primary visual processing and pattern recognition of shapes, colors, and motion. So I'll take what I'm seeing in both and put it together, and now I'm processing shapes, colors, and motion. All of this. So you need both of them. Now, the number 5 is amygdala. And so the left amygdala, as we talked about over the past, yesterday, was language linked to emotional processing, detail-oriented, fear responses, and a verbal emotional memory. So that's why when someone says something to you and it's attached to fear and anxiety, you remember it, and then you have that amazing process that just keeps ruminating, and you keep hearing it over and over and over and over again with no viable solution in the event your amygdala has made your prefrontal cortex weak. But if you have a strong prefrontal cortex, then you're like, man, shut up. You don't even have a solution. Nobody can keep listening to that nonsense. And then the right side of the amygdala is the broad emotional responses, rapid threat detection. So facial expressions, nonverbal. Lady in Trader Joe's is trying to run me over. you have a different response. You kind of reacted at that point. And then the shared responsibility is emotional regulation, fear conditioning, and memory modulation. So again, when you have a healthy, high-functioning, strong prefrontal cortex, then the amygdala just gets to be the amygdala. So I'll use this as an example. Imagine if you are an 11-year-old in a house full of addicts. Let's just imagine that. And now, instead of being 11 years old, you now have to be responsible for things that 11-year-olds shouldn't have to be responsible for. When your parent gets paid on payday, you have to say, take me to the grocery store. I need to make sure I have everything for lunch, because a potential older sibling keeps feeding their friends your lunch as hors d'oeuvres when they come over after school. So let's say you have to do that. You probably have a hijacked amygdala. And so now you as an 11-year-old are making decisions that 11-year-olds shouldn't have to make. So you're trying to do prefrontal cortex things, but you really just want to be an 11-year-old. So if that were a real situation in life, now the 11-year-old doesn't get to do 11-year-old stuff because the 11-year-old is doing grown people stuff. So that's what's happening. Your amygdala just wants to be an amygdala, and it wants the prefrontal cortex, the adult, to do the adult things. So when the amygdala keeps doing things that it's not capable of doing, it's not making the best decisions. 11-year-olds don't make real good decisions. People over 25 with all their whole entire prefrontal cortex make better decisions. So your objective is to make sure that your prefrontal cortex always has what it needs, so the 11-year-old is not trying to run the show. Okay? Got that? All right. Number 6 is the hippocampus. And so the hippocampus is also located in the temporal lobe. And so the left side of the hippocampus, it's a stronger role in verbal memory and learning. So it's recalling words and narrative. It's going to tell you what took place. When I was at Frito-Lay, when I was in the Army, it's going to give you that information. And then the right side is spatial memory and non-verbal learning, where you can say, oh, I know where the Trader Joe's is. You got to go over here. And then it's all of the non-verbal warnings. So these gestures and things like that, anything that doesn't have words to it. Now, the shared portion of this is it's the formation of new long-term memories. It's also spatial navigation, emotional regulation, connection. So it's talking to the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala as well. And then memory consolidation, learning, and this new term that I just learned today is episodic memory formation. Now, what's interesting is that I'm now in the portion of my neuroscience class where we are now talking about the mechanisms for learning. Where did that derive from? And we're talking about Cahal and his theory to say that we don't get new neural pathways or new neurons. We just restructure the ones that we have. So that's the portion where I'm at. And we're actually talking about the hippocampus now. So the episodic memory formation, what is that? That is the process of creating and storing memories of personal experiences, including what, where, and when details. So anytime you're saying, this is what happened, this is where I was, and this is what took place, you are having an episodic memory formation. Interesting. And what we learned as well is that if you misremember the information and you tell that story enough times, that's what the hippocampus will remember. That's why people can lie to themselves over and over and over again. And then somehow that becomes the truth because that's the episodic memory that they're creating. So that's interesting as well. Number 7 is the thalamus, also located in the temporal lobe. And so the left thalamus or thalami relays sensory motor signals from the right side of the body. So again, this is an example where it's opposite. So the left side is telling you what the right side is doing. And then the right side is telling you what the left side is doing. I think that's interesting. And then they come together and they regulate your consciousness, your alertness, and your sleep as well. Number 8 is Mahomi, the basal ganglia. And this is just a summation. So it's responsible for motor control and coordination, habit formation, and procedural learning. So if you need to learn how to drive, step 1, step 2. Step 1, turn on the car. First of all, you're supposed to do preventive maintenance, checks and services, and do a walk around, kick the tires and all that. Then you get in, and now you put your seatbelt on, start the car, look at everything, and then you put the car in gear. If you got a stick shift, you shift it, and now you're off and running. So that's the procedural learning, and that happens in the basal ganglia. Number 9 is the insula, and this is for emotional awareness and body awareness, and so interoceptive awareness, and I'll get into that when I get into the activities, risk assessment, and social emotions. And then 2 more left. So we then have number 10, and that's the cerebellum. So the left side of the cerebellum coordinates, I don't think I have it on my shirt, I don't. Coordinates right side body movements, again, the opposite, and the right side coordinates left side body movements. And so shared coordination of voluntary movements, balance, posture, and motor learning. And so what I'd like to say at this point is that the older you get, the more balanced you need to become because your balance is off. So I started taking yoga practicing yoga when I was 37, which is better than starting yoga at 8 and then stopping by the time you're 37. So yes, you get 20 years of it. But what happens is your balance, you get less and less balance. And that's why you hear about older people falling because the brain is deteriorating, the body is deteriorating. So it would be better for you to start yoga. Well, start it and don't stop, but start it later so that you can continue to use your balance. And life off the mat is life on the mat. So if you find yourself in your yoga practice, you can't do any of the balancing poses, that means something is happening off the mat, which is throwing your core, your gut off. And that's why you're falling to the left and the right before it's time to come out of the pose. All right, number 11 is your prefrontal cortex. And so the left prefrontal cortex is logic, reasoning, language-based tasks. So anything that has to do with language. And then the right prefrontal cortex, again, is that creativity, that nonverbal problem solving, and social behavior. So how you are behaving socially, which means don't pop off at the lady in the parking lot at Trader Joe's. but it was unsafe. Or you're shared, when you share them together, it's the advanced executive functions, attention control, and decision making. So it's the inhibition control to say, okay, let's see what we see, but let's not react to what we see. Let's respond to it. So let's consult the executive function and see what it is that we need to do. So again, the 11 paired brain regions are the frontal lobe, the parietal lobes, the temporal lobes, occipital lobes, amygdala, hippocampus, thalamus, basal ganglia, insula, cerebellum, and the prefrontal cortex. So what questions do you have about the paired regions of the brain? Questions, comments, looking for if you knew that those were the ones that were paired, because I did not know. Nola and I were shocked. It's like, you got two? What? And so I heard about some of them, but especially not the amygdala, the hippocampus, the thalamus, those, and the basal. So more so it makes sense when you start thinking about the lobes, because you're like, yeah, it's got to be on the right side and the left side. When you start getting inside of the lobes into the regions that are inside of the lobes, you wouldn't think, you could think that as you see it sitting there, and it's always a side view, that it's actually split. And I don't even think it's split on the anatomic brains that people have, you know, the plastic brains that they take apart and show you. I don't think both sides have a split amygdala. That would be great if it did. Probably would cost a fortune. Ooh, that's still hot. Is this thing on? Check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Roses are red, violets are blue. I want to know what questions are from you. I'm here. So my question to you was, what questions, comments, or anything do you have about the 11? You don't want to lose your balance. You better download that doggone yoga app, Kevin, Mr. Hook. Better get into a beginner's yoga class for seniors. Don't you go in no class with all them young people. No, you can. It'll be fine. Beginners, they have all ages, right, Regina? I know she's listening, but Regina is an instructor. So of all classes, people are there in all ages. Nola used to go to yoga with us, her little bitty self and her mat. Okay, I can show you the graphic. So here is the graphic. And again, I've started the Real Leader Brain Instagram page. So these graphics that I am sharing with you on the live will be available on Instagram. We talked about doing it on Pinterest or on it. Okay. We talked about doing Pinterest and said no. And so I just started an Instagram page, because then you can see it in the highlights. I can put the brain bits and all kind of things in there. Yes, got it. Yeah, NIG. I got it. Yes. And so then it will be there on IG as well. And so again, now the purpose of this, and I'm going to give you some activities for you to be able to use to strengthen all of your brain regions. And the purpose for this, again, is empowerment. Empower others is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. And so the application of knowledge, that's why there's a whole knowledgeable section in Real Leaders Wear Pink. The application of knowledge is power. So now you have this amazing organ, and now you know what parts of it are being, regions are being paired together, and you know what they do. So when you start assessing, when you have your self-assessment time, when you're in your DMN, your default mode network, that means that you're by yourself. When you're by yourself, you can have body awareness. When you're meditating, you can understand why you're doing what you're doing. And then that will empower you to be able to understand why everybody else is doing what the hell they're doing. When something don't make sense, you're like, oh, okay, yep, amygdala is running that. Oh, when it makes perfect sense, and there's this very thought out strategic plan, you know that people were in their executive function and they were using their decision-making, problem-solving, working memory, skill development, and all of that. Prefrontal cortex was running things, and now you have this pleasurable experience. So that is what the purpose of today is. So here are 10 daily activities to strengthen your paired brain regions. Number 1, for the frontal lobes, which is planning, decision-making, and self-control. You want to write your goals down and your priorities. So you have long-term goals, short-term goals, daily goals. You want to write them down. I know we're in the information age and technology. You want to text it to yourself. However, but you have to have a plan for your day. And if you don't, your day could go any kind of way. You get to the end of the day and just like, today was a day. Let me go to sleep. You can also work on complex problem solving. So strategy games. Luminosity is what I just downloaded. I'm actually going to explore the Elevate app for vocabulary to see what that is as well. You can practice impulse control. So pause before reacting. So you can breathe. Remember, you can take the deep breaths. You can do box breathing. In for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds. So you can do that box breathing so that you're not popping off and then letting the amygdala take off. Because as soon as the amygdala shows up, we know cortisol enters the frontal lobe, brain fog, and you are not going to make good decisions. You're not going to plan well, and you're not going to have self-control. And then public speaking or structured debates. And I am of the belief that just like you got to have a certain amount of PE in school, you need to attend Toastmasters. They have virtual clubs, they have physical clubs, because it helps you to become a better communicator. People say Toastmasters is for public speaking, but that's the National Speakers Association. Toastmasters is a leadership and communication organization that's been around for a very long time. And what it will allow you to do is become a better communicator when you join the correct club. And I checked the other day, and my club I started at the Urban Chamber is still there, Lunchtime Talkers. They went on hiatus for a minute, but it's back up and running again, which is good because I did plant trees for which shade I will never sit. So that's cool. So you want to do public speaking or structured debates because it allows you to use your brain. You got to prepare speeches. You have to evaluate other people. You might have to run a meeting. So then that's going to be leadership. So there's all these roles that you take on when you're participating in the meeting. You're going to increase your vocabulary. Some clubs have joke of the day. All clubs have word of the day. So there's all these things that you can do in an environment where you're not technically getting a grade. And then you get to get level 1, 2, 3. You have educational awards. You can do district leadership. So there's all these things that you can do by joining Toastmasters Club. And all of them are theme-based, so you can pick what you want. We were Lunchtime Talkers. It was for business owners and leaders and entrepreneurs and professionals. And it was at lunch. That's what lunchtime. That's why it was called Lunchtime Talkers on Thursdays at 12 o'clock. So my point is that I believe that everybody should attend and at least check Toastmasters out at some point in their life for communication perspectives. Lola said, thanks. Now I can understand how I can look at an area, draw a diagram, take the measurements, and cut the sheetrock and install it. Exactly, because all of that is happening by the different brain regions that you're using to do that. Yes, that is exactly a great example. Number 2, parietal lobe. So this is sensory processing and spatial awareness. So drawing maps from memory. So if you could do that. Now Nola has a map of Las Vegas, Green Valley, North Las Vegas, and Henderson in her head. It's only a couple people's houses that we leave out of that she's like, no. She's like, that area over there is Spring Valley. That area over there is Beverly Hills, Beverly Garden, Beverly Greens, and all these different areas. There's just a couple places where I'm like, now when we come out, I know, turn right. But spatially, she has it in her head and she knows how to do that because she sees in pictures. So you can also play sports that require spatial awareness, tennis, basketball, pickleball, things like that. Also, I got to be over here, but the ball is going over there. I got to get there before it gets there. Hockey is another good example as well. Mindfulness, body scan. So focus on sensations in each body part. If you wake up, you're like, oh, my back, my legs, I'm tense. Now you can actually do something about it. As we talked about yesterday, if you're tense, you're going to start from your head to your toes and relax all of those muscles. You can also do math exercises or logic puzzles. One thing that I would like to say is I'm grateful for this journey, because if I had stayed on that same glide path that I was on when I was doing the TikTok lives, I would have never started using Grok. I would have never started using ChatGPT, and I would still be using Google. And as I mentioned before, Chat and Grok give me exactly what I'm looking for, tailored, custom made for me. And so I have some math exercises that we're going to get back to. And today we're doing PEMDAS, and without looking it up. So just so you know, your working memory will be working later on. So that's all for your parietal lobe. Number 3, temporal lobe. So that's your hearing and your memory and your emotion. All that's sitting right here in red. Wonder why it's red. Okay, so listening to music mindfully. So don't listen to music to zone out and don't be present, but to actually listen to music on purpose. Memorization activities. So you can memorize quotes, you can memorize poems, vocabulary, you can memorize a sentence in a foreign language, just so that you can memorize and get that memory strong. Engaging in storytelling or reading fiction. Now, I've been banned from reading fiction in the house because the energy shifts. So I tried to read fiction, 7 fiction books in my 10 book challenge, and I was almost homeless behind it. So I can't read fiction, but you all should be able to read fiction, or you can engage in storytelling. Now I can do parables and things like that, but actual fiction, ban the mundo, unless I want to just move somewhere else. Now, practicing emotional labeling during conversations. Again, emotional labeling is I'm angry, I'm upset, I'm happy, I'm elated, I'm excited. Yeah, the energy shifted, Jared. So I thought, because I went to a CTA high school, so I had to read Great Expectation, The Bluest Eye, Great Gatsby, all of that. What is it? Tale of Two Cities. I had to do Shakespeare. I had to memorize the whole fucking to be or not to be, whether 'tis noble in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous misfortune, to die, to speak no more, that nonsense. So I thought that I couldn't read. I couldn't, but I thought it was that. So in my 10th book challenge, I started reading fiction, and I realized I just don't like fiction. So, and it was some pretty light books. I did read of Mice and Men and 1984, and I even read Animal Farm, but it was still, I was trying to get through the grades, and wasn't that great. So anyway, yeah, no, said, no more. Your energy, I can't take this no more. You mad at everybody. Just stop reading the fiction book. Stop. You don't want to read it. You know how to read. You've been reading a book for 10 years. Stop it. So I stopped. Anyway, y'all can read it. I did start writing poetry too, so switch to that. Number 4 is the occipital lobes, and that's the visual processing. Occipital is back here. It's beautiful orange. So visual arts, you can draw, you can paint, you can do photography. At this point, you can create content because we have all these drawing apps and everything that you can use. Mindful observation exercises. So you can sit and just describe the surroundings in detail. So you can just sit there and have a conversation with somebody and talk about the mountains. We're forever, I mean, Las Vegas is just beautiful. You would think it's just desert, but when you just, some mornings you just wake up and when it's clear, my goodness, the mountains, they will be different shades of red and brown. And then the sky will be so blue. We say it just looks like you see these houses and these big giant mountains, and it just looks like a green screen. It's like, yep, look like they said, and cue the mountains, drop them down. So we do that naturally here. Playing visual based games. So spot the difference. You can do puzzles, but anything that allows you memory recognition, where is it at? All of those things are going to help you with your visual processing. And then exposure to natural environments for rich visual stimulation. As I mentioned, we look at the mountains, we look at the trees. I don't like a lot of vegetation in my own house, but when I'm driving, we're having this, you can't have grass anymore. They call it desert landscaping because of the water. So everybody has to switch over. All the common areas around the city and everything, the golf courses don't. But anyway, everybody else has to switch over to desert landscaping. And so when they're in the process of doing it, we drive past, and I'm always talking about how unsightly it is, because it is, as they're ripping up the grass and putting back desert plants. So we still have oxygen, there's plenty of plants and stuff. It's just no more grass. That's occipital lobe visual processing. Number 5 is amygdala, and it's the emotional processing and threat detection. As we talked about, deep breathing regulation. You reflected on your emotional experiences with curiosity. I'm forever saying, I wonder why, when that happened, what was this? And when that happened, all situations, positive, negative, mid, all of that. You want to also have exposure to safe, controlled stress. So cold showers, you're taking a shower, you get to the end, you turn a cold, you can have a whole cold shower, which I don't think you get clean that way. So clean everything off. And then before you get out, turn the cold water on for about 45 seconds to a minute, how much you can stand, and then turn it off. Or you could just try public speaking. Both will make you go when you do it. And then you want daily gratitude. So, and this was new as well. So writing to bias toward positive emotions. I thought that was cool. So instead of having a negative bias, you can have a positive bias. So we don't talk about positivity bias. And we need to, because we don't have a lot of that. And I just wrote that down because I meant to do that when I was taking my notes. Okay, number 6 is the hippocampus. So this is memory formation and spatial navigation. So you want to navigate new routes or walking unfamiliar paths. So if you actually physically drive to your place of business, a doctor's appointment, or anything else that you do, take a different route. That's going to strengthen the hippocampus. So even, especially if you know where it is, then that makes it even better to just go take a detour. We got a lot of construction going on here. So that causes us, yes, increase your positive bias. That causes us to have to reroute, especially if we're in rush hour traffic. Instead of taking the 215 or the 95 to I-11, we might take a different street. And we did that once and ended up in a small town. And so it was interesting. And then you want to learn a new skill or language. So every day that you participate in this live, you are learning something new about you, about your brain, about neuromobility. And so that helps with creating more memories for you for the hippocampus. You also can review the day before you go to bed. So, okay, here's what happened. I got it. All right, this worked, this didn't work. Kind of conduct the after action review. And then you can have brain games that challenge your memory. So again, luminosity. And this occurred to me this morning too, because I forgot that I was on an episode of Brain Games. So there were flashes throughout time. So you, if you think about, oh, everybody said I was on The Price is Right, I was on such and such, that was on Let's Make a Deal. I'm like, yeah, I was on an episode of Brain Games. Like, there were signs. There were signs. Okay, number 7 is the thalamus. So sensory of season 4. The thalamus. So that's your sensory relay and alertness. And so what you're going to do is start practicing sensory awareness. So noticing sounds, smells, textures. And because of I'm a Taurus, Nola says that I'm partly borderline OCD. Things that touch my skin have to be soft. I don't like if it's rough and hard, like when I was in the Army and we had those damn green wool blankets in basic training. Plus I was a squad leader. I kept my bed made all the time. I just slept in my sleeping bag. I was like, I can't, and I'm allergic to wool too. So that was, it was no bueno. Interesting time, I tell you. So you want to engage in noticing all of your sensory skills. Now you want to engage in activities that integrate multiple senses. So if you're cooking and you're talking and listening to music at the same time, that's increasing the thalamus or strengthening it, both the left and the right side of the brain, because you're cooking, so you're measuring, and then you're listening to music, so you got your right thalamus going at the same time. You're having a conversation, so that's verbal. You're looking at people's nonverbals, they're nonverbal communication. So you put that all together, and then you're regulating your sleep patterns for optimal thalamic functions and altering tasks to maintain alertness. So if you always wake up in the morning and you brush your teeth first and then make up your bed, wake up, make up your bed, and then brush your teeth, but change what it is that you do. So I have to change how I stretch because I could do it in muscle memory. Sometimes I switch up the music that I'm stretching to as well. So that's another thing. I do my stretching and listen to music at the same time. And then from a sleep perspective, again, so we had this conversation with Jared, adenosine. When your adenosine is low, that means that you are awake. When your adenosine is high, it builds throughout your day. When you get to your point, it's going to be the adenosine is going to say, okay, it's time for you to take your ass to sleep. It's also known as process S and C. So C is when you are up and alert, and S is when it's time to sleep. And what happens is the CNS work in 6 to 8 hours for your process S, and then 16 to 18 hours for your process C. So they will automatically meet, have a conversation, and say, okay, is it time to wake up or go to sleep? It's time to go to sleep. Okay, cool. Is it time to wake up or stay asleep? It's time to wake up. So your body naturally does that. But when you give it caffeine, it pushes the adenosine down, and now you're alert. And then the adenosine is going to take longer to build up when you put that caffeine in your body. And now you find yourself needing a sleep aid because it's time for you to go to bed. But the adenosine is like, I'm ready. I'm alert. I'm up. What are we doing? So that's why you want the body to naturally do what the body naturally does. Number 8 is the basal ganglia, and that's the motor control habit formation. This is where your habits are formed. Your 21 days to form a habit. 21 days to form a habit completely is happening in the basal ganglia. So what you can do is practice your fine motor skills, writing, playing an instrument. For Lola and Nola, it's using a drill, the impact driver, the sawzall, the other stuff that I can't think of right now. It's a bunch of shit. There's your ratchet screws and your monkey wrench, your different socket wrenches, and all of those things that you have to do. Your sawhorses, all of those are happening, and the basal ganglia is helping you form those good habits, not those bad habits, like don't be driving with your forks up in the air in the convention center with a pallet over people's heads. Okay, and we've experienced that. Now, the next one is physical exercise with repetitive movements. So cycling, running, circuit training, things like that will help you get going. You do enough push-ups, whether they're wall, knee, modified, enough planks, and it will help you memorize what it is that you need to do. If you do a sequence, if you're in martial arts and you have to do your pattern, especially if you're trying to compete to go get your belt, then that helps as well. I think I told y'all that I was taking Taekwondo when I was in the Army, and I had to do my pattern. I was at the beginning. I took it in elementary school at the Y, and then had to stop, and then started in the military. Had to stop again because I went to career captain's course. But I was all ready to get my yellow stripe, and so I was ready. I had my pattern and everything, and got to the end, and then they said, "Okay, it's time to break a board." I said, "What?" What you mean break a board? We ain't practice breaking no board. They was like, "Yeah, so if you want your yellow stripe, you gotta break a board with your foot." What? How was that in the paperwork? So I did it, and I kept the board for a very long time. I was gonna put it in the shadow box, and I lost it in one of my moves, my physical PCS moves. But yeah, I broke that board with my foot and had never done it before. So, yay me. So okay, anyway, wink wink. That's just on there for record. No, building positive habits through daily routine. So again, with your positivity bias, now you can build positive habits. And then, like I said, dance or martial arts to coordinate your movement. So Regina is a dancer. You could do capoeira, Krav Maga, so many different things. Taekwondo, karate, jitsu, all of those things. And they have classes at all levels. Okay, number 9 is that you have your insula, so your body awareness and your emotional insights. So daily mindfulness, meditation, focusing on your internal sensations. So just sitting there in your 3 to 5 minutes of mindfulness, you can just woosah to your heart's content. Also, emotional check-in. So what am I feeling in my body? So check in with your body, because your body is a warning signal to what's taking place, and especially your gut. Life happens in the gut. So if your gut is telling you something, listen to it. All right. Feeling, yes. So breath work. So practice to increase your interoceptive awareness. And now your interoceptive awareness is the process of sensing, interpreting, and encoding body signals: hunger, fullness, temperature, anxiety, thirst, bladder fullness. So all of those things that are happening in your body, your insula is letting you know, and it is through your interoceptive awareness. So listen to your body, okay? Number 10, and it's the final one, got some bonus ones, and then we're going to be doing our cognitive fitness and getting on up out of here. All right, so 10 is the cerebellum. So that's, again, your balance, your motor coordination, and your learning. Work on your balance. Work on your balance. And if your center of gravity is centered, which means if you got a lot of love. When I was pregnant, my center of gravity was off. But your center of gravity, you need your core. That's my stomach muscles. Your core needs to be strong. Okay, that's where everything, life is happening in the gut and the core, and your balance. So the bigger your core gets, and the bigger your butt gets, your back. And don't be like, no, I'm gonna just let my stomach and my butt match. No, lean, mean fighting machines. Okay, you want this to be strong, or your balance is gonna be off. Because if you got a big core or a big bottom, and you go forward or backwards, that momentum, gravity is going to take you in one of those directions. Okay. So you want to balance your exercise. And so again, when you get off this live, go ahead and do tree pose. And if you're big and bad, like Regina is, go ahead and do it with your eyes closed. If you don't know what tree pose is, Google it. Look it up on TikTok. Ask Grok or ChatGPT, because you have to be able to balance yourself. It helps you in the event that you need medical aid as you age, and it just helps you balance how you're doing. So if you having a fucked up day, go ahead and try to do tree pose. You falling over. I don't care how good you are in yoga. You gonna be dunk on the mat. Okay. All right, next is fine motor activities. This is hilarious. They said juggling or drumming. I've never been good at juggling, especially now with this hand being messed up from aerosol school. But go ahead, flip a coin, just do those things. Yes, tree pose. That's a yoga pose. You can do bow, you can do triangle. There are a lot, but if you do bow, you can actually do standing splits. I wouldn't recommend that initially. I believe if Virginia, you can tell me that's an advanced pose. I could do it, not all the way up, but yeah. So you want to do bow on each leg. You can. There's some pigeon headstand would be good, but don't do that either because y'all knew. But yeah, yep. If you look it up, you can see it. Obviously, check with your primary care physician before you start doing any of these, because if you out of shape, don't go jumping into a yoga class. So get help. Your primary practitioner will tell you, yes, you can, and they still have modified poses for everything in yoga, which is great. So you have beginner, intermediate, and advanced. All right, or easy, middle, and difficult. And practicing your new movement skills regularly. So that's why you stretch every day. That's why you do these things daily, because you improve incrementally. And then stretching and mobility work for body control. Again, yoga is great for that. They have other different stretches. People do Pilates, all kind of things. And so I was thinking about this morning as I was either brushing my teeth or putting some lotion on my face. And what happens is nobody wants to get old. And that's because older people did it wrong. They fucked their bodies up for all these years. And then they went to the doctor, and the doctor said, all this shit is wrong with you. Now now they're like, see, when you get old, and it's like, no, if you get the checkups, you change your diet every 10 years, you exercise, then natural aging will happen, but these big catastrophic things won't happen. And so what happens is the whole thing in America is don't look old. Whatever you do, don't look old. And I always say, don't show me your face, show me your medicine cabinet, show me your meds, and I'm gonna tell you how old you are just by how much how much stuff that you have to take. Now, chronic things that just happen, I get it, but I'm saying all these things that are controllable through diet and exercise, control them through diet and exercise. So it's not a matter of how many wrinkles you got, it's how many prescriptions you got. That's really what's going to tell you what's happening on the inside, what's happening up here. Because as I told you, I talked to that doctor the other day at the appointment. We were doing those shoe racks that the actual manuals came in Chinese. Yeah. So we was having a conversation, and he was like, every time you take a prescription, it's got all these other things that's happening. And if you think about it, the brain and the body has to process that. And so because of neurotransmitters, that's how the medicine knows what to do, because it goes through and now it's saying, okay, here's a neurotransmitter, go ahead, opens in that synaptic connection, that little gap. Now, don't do this, or do this, eliminate this, or input this. And so if the body knows what to naturally do, and now you have all these things that's changing the body is going to crave the Ambien and the caffeine versus the adenosine. So that's what's happening. So you want to create an overall balanced body existence for your brain, because your brain, think of it this way, back in the day, if you're old enough to remember, we used to have to get that Norton antivirus disc and put it in the computer. If you got a Trojan horse or whatever, you had to put that in, get rid of everything. So you're just basically putting viruses in your CPU, and now you want your CPU to function properly. That ain't never going to happen. Okay. So here are some bonus brain benefits for the activities that I've mentioned. Number one is neuroplasticity. It strengthens your neural pathways. The more you do something, the stronger that neural pathway is. So if you smoke weed, you're going to keep smoking weed. If you drink water, you're going to keep drinking water. If you eat healthy, you're going to keep eating healthy. If you get enough rest, you're going to keep getting enough rest. So syntax, win-tax. So for every good behavior, there's a bad behavior that can correspond with it or not. But that's what's happening in the basal ganglia. You are training the basal ganglia of what to do. And it just says, oh, it's time to go smoke that cigarette. All right, I need to vape. And that's what's happening because you do it every day. I need to, oh, did I have my 17 cookies today? No, I only had 16. Okay, cool. Did I eat my fruit? Did I eat my almonds and my omega-3s because I'm eating walnuts now too? Then yes. Did I have my boiled egg for some protein this morning? Absolutely. And do I have my Ensure? Because thank you, grandfather. If I don't have 3 meals a day and I don't take this, I could be 120 pounds in the blink of an eye. So the neuroplasticity, neural pathways get strengthened by your daily habits that you created in your basal ganglia. The second one is cognitive reserves. So it builds resilience to aging. Cognitive reserves, that working memory. Every day that you increase your working memory, when you age, you still have a working memory. When you don't learn something, when you aren't challenging yourself, when you aren't physically active, when you are engaged in hijacked amygdala activities, by the time you get 80 years old, you're kind of just regular. That's why you end up going over older people's houses and they're sitting in front of the TV watching the stories or Price is Right or the news, because everything has atrophied and all they train their basal ganglia to do is sit down or get up, get dressed, get your breakfast, sit down, and be told something all day long and then tell you about the good old days. All right. And they're just old days. There were nothing good about them. The next one is emotional regulation. So you have better stress and mood management. The prefrontal cortex and the amygdala need to work together. And the amygdala's job is to just send alerts to the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex takes that information, processes it, and sees if it's real. If it is, it develops a strategy to do something about it. If it's not real, then it's like go to sleep. You tired, amygdala, that's a false positive. It ain't no real saber-tooth tiger. Be quiet. You trying to start some shit and I ain't for your shit today. And then the executive function boost. So it's sharper decision making and focus. When you have this total brain workout every day and you're practicing strengthening the areas in every person's brain regions are stronger and weaker based upon what they do. So every brain is different. So I'm not saying you need to use all 10 of these. You know if your amygdala is being hijacked. You know if your motor skills are not working. You know if you need to read more. You know if you need to look and be more creative because you so left brain you can't even draw or color in a coloring book. You are the one who's responsible for your balanced overall brain health. So again, the 10 exercises are you're going to, for your frontal lobe and decision making and self-control, you're going to do some writing. You're just going to review top line for your parietal lobes, your sensory processing, spatial awareness. You can draw, you can play tennis, temporal lobe, hearing and memory. You can listen to music and you can do storytelling. Occipital lobes for visual, you can do art, drawing, and you can expose yourself to the environment in which you're in. If I was in Detroit, I'd be like, the sky is gray, it's cold as hell, and it smells like automotive industry. No, that's why I don't live here no more. Then your amygdala, always do the deep breathing and focus on positive bias. Hippocampus, you're going to do things like taking a new route, learning a new language. Thalamus, you're going to do the sensories where you can cook and listen to music at the same time, things of that nature. Basal ganglia, you're going to, whatever memories, whatever you start doing on a daily basis, that's what the basal ganglia is going to do. So you can do positive habit thought routines daily, and you can do any type of martial arts or yoga. The insula body awareness, your emotional insight, obviously you're going to do daily meditation with your interoceptive awareness. And this is just telling you I'm hungry, I'm sleepy, I'm angry, I'm lonely, I'm tired, I got anxiety, I'm happy. It's just telling you what's taking place. And then number 10 is your balance for your cerebellum. Okay, what questions, comments do you have before we get into cognitive fitness? You will need pen and paper, pencil and paper for the cognitive fitness. And we have, without looking it up today, and a PEMDAS, because Kevin messaged me yesterday and he was like, you know what, Dr. Donna, what we haven't done and what I really enjoyed was doing PEMDAS. So he was sitting there thinking about it as he was having a fine Friday afternoon, and he messaged me and asked that we do PEMDAS today. And I said, sure, Mr. Hook, absolutely, I will comply. You ask and you shall receive. So we are ready for PEMDAS. He actually didn't do that, so don't. No, he did not. Not at all. He did. No one requested anything. I'm not getting any cognitive fitness requests from anybody. So if you do not have any other questions or comments, just give me a thumbs up and tell me you are ready for your cognitive fitness. So I'm ready. Thumbs up. Give it to me. Give me some cognitive fitness. You ready for your? Are you ready for some cognitive fitness? Woo! I'm ready. All right, thumbs up. I would just like to give y'all the comparison. Can y'all see my pencils? So I haven't had a pencil this worn down since I was in middle school. Wait, there we go. Look at that. This is from my neuroscience class. Look at my eraser. Just gone. Gone on. I had to pull out my reserve because of how much writing. And I got my pens and everything. Doggone thing. Got my little up and up pencil sharpener. And it took my pencil out. But it's for you. This is for y'all. Okay, are we ready for cognitive fitness? We see ya. Yes, yeah. Jared, it's just me and you, homie. WKRP in Cincinnati. Venus. I don't even think they had reruns of that on anymore. Okay, so without looking it up, this is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful way to get that language going. You know what I'm saying? Get that language going. So without looking it up, I'm going to give you the word, and then I'm going to give you two meanings of the word. And you are going to pick which word it is. Okay? All right. The word is pulchritude. Pulchritude. And it is spelled Pulchritude. Pulchritude. So without looking it up, does pulchritude mean plainness or prettiness? Plainness or prettiness? Pulchritude. It's going to be an allergy day. My nose is itching for a scratch. All right, so we have Kevin has said plainness, Nola has said plainness, and Jared has said plainness. And all three of you are incorrect. It is prettiness. It's beauty and prettiness. Yes. Look at that woman. Look at him and all that pulchritudeness over there. Oh my goodness. They look so pulchritudenous. Yes. So now you have a word of the day. Feel free to use pulchritude throughout your day and your conversations today. Oh, look at all this pulchritude walking up and through here. Yes. Okay. You had to look it up. No, Lola, you weren't supposed to look it up. It was without looking it up. Right. Y'all ride together, y'all die together. Exactly. United, y'all stood. I said, look at this. This is awesome. So now you can use it in a sentence. Feel free. And don't blame me. Blame the books that I read. All right. So for Mr. Hook's request, the PEMDAS. Yes, exactly. And so that's the whole point, is to improve your vocabulary with words. Remember, your personal lexicon. You're here to be able to do that. So you want to be hoity and toity when you speak to people. So, darling, no, I'm not coming there. There's not enough pulchritude for me. Oh, no, it's unsightly over there. Have you seen it? Oh, I do think not. Okay? That's my 8% Welsh inside of me. You know, me and Harry and them related on my granddaddy's side. Levi, he was a Welshman. Married to Goldie. Yep. I can spell it one more time for you, good sir. It is Pulchritude. And some people say pulchritude, and some people say pulchritude. So tomato, tomato, potato, potato, resource, resource. Depending on what side of the pond you are on. Pulchritude. Okay, now we're doing PEMDAS and we out the door. So get your pen and paper ready. You can actually write this down. This little piece of this hair is driving me bonkers. Okay, so we know we're doing PEMDAS today. And PEMDAS is parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtractus. PEMDAS, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. My pleasure. All right, so here is your 7th grade PEMDAS problem. Complements of a Grok, which is located in X, formerly known as a Twitter. Okay, so here's your problem. I'm going to give it to you twice, and then you are going to present the answer. You do not have to show your work. Okay, and you cannot use a calculator. You are using this calculator, your personal calculator that you walk around with all day long. So longhand math. Here is the probleme. 15 divided by 3 plus 4 times, open parenthesis, 7 minus 2, closed parenthesis. Ein mehr time. 15 divided by 3 plus 4 times, open parenthesis, 7 minus 2, close parenthesis. All right, and let me know what your answer is. Drop it in the comments. All right, we got 2 answers on the board, 2 answers on the board. All right, 3 answers on the board and 3 answers on the board. Y'all all got the same. I'm gonna start calling y'all the 3 amigos, the 3 musketeers. Okay, so yes, the answer is correct. It is 25. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. We call that a turkey and bowling. Okay, so what needed to take place was, the first things first is that you had to do the parentheses. 7 minus 2 is 5. Then you were left with 15 divided by 3 plus 4 times 5. So the next thing you had to do was the multiplication. And so 4 times 5 is 20. Then you did the division, which is 15 divided by 3 is 5. And now you have 5 plus 20 is 25. So there you have it. So what you used was your parietal lobe to get that done and your frontal lobe to get that done for language processing and math. Additionally, what PEMDAS does for you is order of operations is linked to working memory, because what happens is when you have to-do lists and you have problems to solve, you have to go to, what do I need to do first? What tasks do I need to do first on a to-do list, priorities of work, or in problem solving, what do I need to do first in order to solve this problem? So PEMDAS is directly linked to your working memory. Parentheses, so you're looking for the parentheses in your problem solving. Then you're looking for the exponents. Then you're looking for the multiplication. Then you're looking for the division. Then you're looking for the addition. And then you're looking for the subtraction. So the more PEMDAS problems you do, and the more complicated they become, the more problems you can solve, and the more complicated problems you can solve. And the longer your to-do list can be, and you can actually say, okay, this is priorities of work. I'm going to do this first, this first, this first, this, and then you get down the list. So that is how it is linked to your life. No one ever made that connection for me when I was in school. I had to make that connection on my own. But that is the actual life connection for PEMDAS. That's the life connection. So pulchritude is the life connection for all those spelling tests that you had to take, because now you can understand what the word is. You can use it in a sentence, and then you can increase your own personal lexicon. Now, if you find yourself wanting to do some more working memory problems on your own, aka PEMDAS, Khan Academy is very good. They start at early education, early elementary math, and they go all the way up to college math. Okay, so from elementary to college and all points in between, you just go to Khan, Kahn Academy on YouTube, and they even have an app now, and so you can work on that yourself in your leisure time. Okay, so the final two questions for today are, what did you learn today, and what did you learn about yourself? What did you learn today, and what did you learn about yourself? Do-do-do. I learned a lot. I learned interoceptive. That's what happens. It's because my brain want to flip that. Thank you, Orthographic Processing Center. But interoceptive awareness. I will get it. Also, the episodic memory formation. That is cool. And the Wernicke or Venreniker in English. I don't know why English got to make it, but it's German first. So Wernicke. And I've gone over that before, but it's more like a refresher. And then there was something else. It was challenging this morning. I had to use my tablet and my phone to compare those two, get it all done, and make it cohesive. That's the biggest challenge that I had this morning, was how do I pair this, take what I saw, and turn it into something that's palatable for you all to be able to get. So I almost had a hot flash this morning because of the stress of being able to tell you all about the brain regions that are paired. Noah said, I learned about myself. Me having a map of the city is part of the brain. Yes, ma'am, it is. Jared said, I learned that increasing positive bias increases positive habits. Yes, that is correct, sir. And then Kevin said, myself, I got to work on strengthening my parietal lobe. I struggle with math. Yes, and there are plenty of apps that will definitely help you with that. Yes, and Nola, so that means you have a very strong hippocampus. And remember, they did that study of the London taxi cab drivers, and they had the map of the cities in their brain, and they measured, and their hippocampuses were larger, and they could store more of the city in their heads. Nola said, I learned which areas are two in the brain, and it's a lot of lateralness. It is. And then Kevin, today I learned pulchritude. And then Jared, Lola, if you're still there, Virginia, you said you were listening. Yes. And then my final question today, and I said I was going to start asking this sporadically. How does your brain feel? You go to your next doctor's appointment, your annual physical, see if they ask you about your brain. You get your blood pressure, they do your blood, they do your balance. The older you get, did you get your colonoscopy, your mammogram, pap smear, all of that, prostate checked, but they don't ask you how's your brain doing. I mean, they do like balance, bend down, and that kind of thing, but and they ask you about your mental health. Do you feel like you've been suicide or that? But they ain't like, do you feel like you a strong person right now? Do you feel like your brain is operating? They should have a little brain chart. You know, if you have pain, they say with scale 1 to 10, they should say how full is your brain this morning. So how does your brain feel? And part of the reason why I demonstrate and show you all that even though I got a lot of smarts, that I still have the learning disability that I had way back in elementary school, it's still there. It's just for these higher level words. So your learning inabilities don't necessarily go away just because of how your brain is wired, but you can wire around them and practice. And so you don't have to remain that way. So, Kevin, as you say, you struggle with math, I struggle with reading. It's just something that you have to strengthen that neural pathway. And then you will, because if I tell people, oh, I couldn't read, it doesn't seem like that. However, I have to go back and say, and you can see it. So that's why I say, damn, I'm fucking this word all the way up so that you can understand what's happening. All right. Jared said, my brain feels alert and ready to course correct. And Lola said, coachable. All right. And Kevin said, feels good. I feel it all in my brain. I feel it all in my brain. Feels good. Okay. Y'all know I know a lot of songs from the late 80s, early 90s, because that 59-minute bus ride wasn't and their joke. You figure 180 days of school and an hour both ways for 4 years. A lot of music. A lot of music. I was hopping the freight, catching the city bus all over the place. That was my limousine picking me up every day. Had to walk to it, but after that. Okay. All right. So in summary, ladies and gentlemen, we will be back on our Real Leader path tomorrow, making the connections, showing you again. But this information, I believe I needed to take that time out. I discussed it with my small council in stature, and it's a small circle. To find the best ways. I will continue to say, this is probably the first time in your life you've experienced somebody who is actually doing real-time research with real people and making the edits along the way. Usually is done in a lab somewhere, but we are doing this together. And so it is this evolutionary process of, and I looked at some lives again, that's almost 2 years old, 18, 19 months, somewhere around there, old, about 18 months old. And I'm looking at the progress, my presentation, the things that I'm saying, what I'm talking about, the basic real leadership is still there, but the confidence, technical competence that's there is interesting. So when you do something for 608 days consecutively, 609, you actually have this evolutionary process. So that's why you do things daily, so you can measure your progress and how far you've come along. For whatever time you all showed up, if you look at where you were when you first got here versus where you are today, there should be some actual visible changes, but also some neurological changes. And if there are not, then one of us is not doing our part. This is a partnership, okay? I teach, you listen, you tell me what's happening. I go back in the lab with a pen and a pad and regroup to say, this work? Okay, cool. How's that going? All right, that's working. Okay, cool. Got it. This works. This doesn't work. Improve this. And so now what we have is a combination of all the lives together. Now I can put all the pieces together, as Steve Jobs said, rest in peace, that the dots will connect. That's why you keep doing something, because just because it doesn't make sense today doesn't mean it's not going to make sense in 609 days. So you keep going and growing, and now you have this picturesque experience with me with brain t-shirts on and the background, and now you get to see what's happening up here so you can change what's happening out here. And Lola said, I learned that I'm still able to learn and change. Yes, you are. And that is the biggest thing, is that you believe you get to midlife and now this is as good as it gets, but that's nonsense. And so you really only have like between 25 and 40 where you feel like you can do things and you have it all together, and then everything starts falling apart in theory, but it doesn't. It's just falling apart so you can build it better. That's all. You're just doing a rehab. And Kevin, Lola, and Nola know what that's about based upon what they do in their businesses. So that's it. So I do value and appreciate you taking the time out, participating in this amazing thing called neuroprobability, and getting our lives to the point where we are best. So we are the baddest mofos walking the face of the planet Earth, because it feels good. To quote Mr. Hook, it feels good to be able to use this brain how you want it to be used instead of it being used against you. So empowerment is what I feel today. I will be back tomorrow, same time, God willing, higher power in the universe. And let me try to take credit for that. Same time, same place, safe space, different brain t-shirt. You all go off and have a pulchritudinal day and a braintastic day. Take care. Adios.